Hey there, it's the One Boom, and welcome to a video about Battlefield 1. Now, I know a lot of you guys have recently come from my Battlefield 4 military simulation videos, so don't be deterred by this video when I say a couple negative things about Battlefield 1. I don't want you guys to think that I hate Battlefield, I'm turning against Battlefield, I love Battlefield. In fact, on Tuesday, I have more Battlefield 4 military simulation stuff that I get to record, and that's going to be fun, so stay tuned. I love Battlefield, I'm getting Battlefield 1, I'm going to play Battlefield 1, I enjoyed my brief time with the alpha, so please, 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 for the love of God, don't hate on me for this video. Don't get mad at me. Do not apply salt to my comment section. Also, EA and DICE, if for whatever reason I'm not supposed to upload this gameplay, please do not copyright strike me. Please, for the love of God, send me a DM, email me, contact me some other way, and tell me to remove the video. Don't copyright strike me, please. I saw that it's okay to upload alpha footage, and hopefully it is. I want to drive home that I did like Battlefield 1's alpha, so let me first say the positive things I have to say about it. First things first, FOV slider on console, great. Thank you. For the love of God, if every developer could do this for their games, I'm looking at you, Halo and Call of Duty. I think Doom does it as well, actually. Just put field of view sliders in your games. The current gen consoles can handle it. Please, if Battlefield 1 can have a full FOV slider on Xbox One, every game can have a full FOV slider on Xbox One and PS4. And of course, PC can go fuck itself. Just kidding, I dabble in the PC Master Race myself, so please don't bite my head off. I'm already off to a terrible start here. We also have High Mantle in Battlefield 1, and Battlefield 1's High Mantle is a long-awaited feature. My friends have wanted this, I've wanted this ever since we played Battlefield 3. Why can we not grab things above our heads? You always see soldiers do it in the movies, you see action heroes do it, you can do it in Call of Duty. If something's above your head, you jump, you grab it, you pull yourself up. It's as easy as that. And apparently EA and DICE and Visceral all were really late to that memo. But now we're finally getting it, and I'm more than happy. One thing I like that's more specific to how the game is played, I loved the fixed weapon placements. I love the anti-tank, the anti-infantry, and the anti-air turrets that are scattered around the map that we had in the alpha. That was great. Why are those things so cool to me? Because they imply a more practical use for map control. Controlling that flag gets you points, but controlling that gun keeps the people off your points, okay? It keeps them having to keep respawning. That is something that a lot of FPS games forget. Put more ways for me to kill my opponents in the game. I want to be able to kill my opponents as many ways as possible, so having good, solid fixed gun placements, unlike in BF4, unlike in BF3, really good fixed weapon placements changes up the battlefield a lot. So thank you EA and DICE for adding those. I really do appreciate that. Alright, so I have some negative things to talk about here. The first thing is the lack of content. Oh boy, anybody that's gotten mad about Battlefield 1 has gotten mad about this issue and this issue alone. And so if you've already heard it and you already disagree with all points like this, you might disagree with mine, but I encourage you to hear me out. Battlefield 4 launched with 77 unbalanced weapons. In Battlefield 4's current state, and this is a little bit subjective, but if you look at the numbers, it adds up. Battlefield 4 now has over 100 balanced weapons in the game. So, what we should usually assume from the game developers that make our favorite games is that if they do something really big in their last game, the next game is going to have something even bigger. Not the case. Battlefield 1 is going to have less weapons. I think it's going to have 30, 35 weapons, 35 firearms at least, and just less equipment, less attachments, less customization. And, you know, you're thinking, well, it's World War I, what are you complaining about? Obviously, there's less stuff. Of course, authentically and realistically, there would be less options in World War I when it comes to customizing your weapons. Guns aren't lined with Picatinny rails, guns don't have barrels you can attach just muzzle brakes and compensators and suppressors to. You can't put on a ACOG sight to match your Gruer 98. Obviously, that's not going to happen. But if we're going to be talking about authentic reality, then we also have to talk about the fact that, I'm sorry, nobody was parachuting into battlefields in World War I. Nobody was charging trenches with SMGs lined with bayonets. The British did not have 10-round semi-automatic infantry rifles. Did they exist then? Were they created then? Sure shit, whatever. But were they used in battle? No. In fact, in Battlefield 1, there are lever-action rifles. Now, I looked into this a long time ago, and I re-looked it up recently. You ever wondered why, if lever actions were in existence before World War I, why was everybody in World War I using bolt actions? Aren't lever actions faster, cooler, may have shorter barrels? Well, I mean, what's the deal? Well, not only are they harder to load if they're tube fed or if they're rear fed or side fed, like they're just harder to load. Not only that, the actual action of pulling a lever was enough for the military to tell manufacturers, we don't want any lever actions used by our infantry. We're going with bolt actions because it's easier to load and fire while laying down, while in cover. And that's why lever actions have never been used by the military. Whereas there may be a prototype that leaked onto the field, maybe a couple hundred people had them or were handed them. I mean, it was a big ass war. I'm sure a lot of these things were used. But on the case of Britain versus the German Empire, I am sorry to say, no. There were not British people parachuting into battle, firing full automatic SMGs, while Germans held them back with handheld machine guns. I'm sorry, that didn't happen, and nobody was creating suppressing fire with semi-automatic rifles. So let's look at this in the context of a video game. In a video game, the previous title has a ton of guns and a ton of attachments, a ton of customization. The next game costs just the same amount and has less. But it's not for authenticity's sake, it's just we're going with anything that existed during that time period. So it has less content and it's not authentic. So, is that a problem? Not necessarily. As a video game, sure. It needs to have guns and variety and content, so adding stuff that maybe wasn't directly used on the battlefields of World War I, adding that kind of stuff isn't inherently a bad thing. But it frustrates the World War I enthusiast in me, and it frustrates the first-person shooter player and consumer in me. That is me. Whatever. So let me say, this would make a beautiful World War II game if you had M1 Garands, M1 Carbines, Thompsons, Stens, PP Shushes, you had German STGs, you had Guru 34s, Guru 98s, Kar 98s, you had all of these weapons in the same, with the same graphics, the same feel, the same style of map. I mean, it makes such a good World War II game. Even the map they selected for the alpha feels way more like a World War II battleground. The more villagey, urban feeling instead of the wide open fields that you've seen hundreds and thousands of pictures of and depictions of. And in fact, the map on the alpha had an area that was all trenches and burnt down trees and all those wide open areas that I really liked. And then you have to go fight in this town where all the buildings are getting blown to hell, and then there's a windmill up on the hill and another windmill, and it really just feels like World War II. It feels like an old Medal of Honor map remastered in Frostbite. It's like, wow, this would be so much cooler if it was, World War I. It's like that weird sci-fi trope of when people go to different planets and they're in these weird villages that are very medieval. Stargate did this a lot. And it's like they're on a different planet and it's way far away, but they're in a medieval village that's on a different planet in a different galaxy. And it's like, unless you told me I was watching a sci-fi show, I wouldn't get it. So if somebody handed me a copy of Battlefield 1 and I was completely oblivious as to what it was, and they said, what time period is this? I would say World War II, and I haven't unlocked the weapons from 1940s yet. That's what would come out of my mouth. I don't see that as a World War I game. So I love the improvements, I love the settings, I love the options, I love the aesthetics, I love the game. But it has to be said, it has less content than Battlefield Hardline and Battlefield 4 in terms of weapons, customization, equipment, you get it. And that really sucks when I'm kind of accustomed to every Battlefield game getting bigger. I mean, every Battlefield game from 1942 up to Battlefield 4 got bigger and bigger and bigger. Hardline got small, and everybody got very, very mad, bored, and now that game is pretty much dead. Now, Battlefield 1's coming out, it's leaked that there's going to be like 35 firearms in the game, and everyone's like, well, that's authentic, but it's still really not authentic, and that's where my, I guess that's where I get confused as a gamer. It's a good FPS, the running, the stopping, and the shooting, and the killing, and the flying, and the driving, and the blowing of the things up, that is totally fine. But when it comes to the actual in-game content, it's always worth bringing up, it's always worth discussing. So it would make a way better World War II game, I think. I mean, come on guys, you can't even have bolt actions on any class but sniper rifles, which is appalling. You should be able, in a World War I game, to run around with a bolt action iron-sighted rifle. Okay? That should happen. If you can do that in Call of Duty World at War, then you should be able to fucking do it in a World War I game. I shouldn't have to play as the recon class for that. I'm sorry, it just makes very little sense to me. But enough about that. I like the game. I'm gonna get the game. Please leave your salt away. Don't even be like, I know I'm supposed to respect your opinion, but you're wrong about this. No, I'm really not wrong. If you guys have any historical facts to share with me, let me know. When it comes to your opinion about whether it's good or not, whatever. I think it's good. I think it's good that they know that the game needs to have variety and content. I just kind of wish it was either going to be authentic or packed with content. But we have a game that has less content and still not authentic. You guys get it. I don't have to reiterate things to you guys. I hope you guys stay tuned for Battlefield 4 Military Simulator this Tuesday. And yeah, I will see you when I see you, I guess. I mean, that kind of wraps this up, right? Yep, okay. 11 minutes anyway. Whatever.